Hey, look, I'm in widescreen. Okay, I really need something other than Young Earth to talk about. It's getting mind-numbing.
Would anyone sacrifice himself to save you?
Dude, I just wanted another topic. I don't think you need to go that far. Okay, my subject today is Frank Turek. He is a very accomplished apologist. He's written books and done quite a bit of public speaking. He also founded Christian apologetics mystery, adorably named crossexamined.org. Get it? Examining the cross? I am such a fan of bad puns. So he has a few lectures on the resurrection of Jesus. So what do you got for us, Frank?
Well, I actually think it's really easy to show that Christianity is true. You only need to answer 4 questions in the affirmative to show that it's true.
Oh, well then, let's get to it. What are the questions?
Here are the 4 questions. Does truth exist? Does God exist? Are miracles possible? And is the New Testament true?
Why do these apologists promise a proof and then take a massive dump on themselves like this? Yes, truth exists. There are things that I can say that I know are true. I exist in some way. That is a true statement. I couldn't make that statement if it were not true. No, I don't believe God exists. You literally started this off by saying you have proof of Christianity being true, meaning proof that the Christian God exists. Why would you then have that as one of your proofs? If a person already believes something with conviction, they are going to think it's true. But someone like me, asking for proof, you can't just start out with blatant circularity. I thought you were going to be good at this. No, miracles in the manner you are asking are not possible. I could think of things that are so improbable they might appear as a miracle, like spontaneous cancer remission. It's happened in all walks of life and all faiths, so you can't pull all of them on your invisible genie in the celestial version of North Korea. No, the New Testament is not true. Some of the events that may have happened, like Jesus preaching, but all of the miracles that he alleged to have performed predate his ass in Greek and Roman mythology by centuries. I mean, if you really want to have a copycat religion, be my guest.
Did Jesus really rise from the dead?
Nope. There are so many problems with the resurrection story that it's like become a word salad game to keep everybody's story straight on what everybody should say when the problems with the story come up.
Now, we don't have time to go through all these obviously here tonight.
Oh, well, yeah. I could go on for hours talking about the problems with it, but I want to keep this under 20 minutes. Let's see how much we can get through.
What is the evidence that the New Testament writers are telling the truth about this? There are several lines of evidence. We're just going to briefly look tonight at 2 of them.
Oh, no. We are going to go through a lot more than 2. I'll let you get through your 2, though, since must be your best evidence, right? So, yeah, go on.
The first we're going to look at is something called embarrassing stories. Well, historians know that if they're investigating a text and there's something embarrassing to the author or authors in the text, it's probably true.
So wait. You think that's even remotely good evidence? Just because someone says something embarrassing about themselves?
The New Testament writers depict themselves as dim-witted.
Here's a clue for you, Frank. If I wanted to raise someone else up to be better than me, the absolute first thing I would do is make everyone around them look as bad as possible, making the subject look as good as possible. If I wrote the story making myself look awesome and made the disciples look like badasses, Jesus would look like just the average guy. So no, Frank, you have no idea how storytelling works if you think that an author would not make everyone around Jesus look like bumbling buffoons to make him look better. You are out of your mind. That's storytelling 101 for Darwin's sake. You even admitted they did this in making themselves look bad. If anything, this is an example to show it's not true. You can't honestly think the disciples would have been that dim-witted.
This is like a Monty Python movie.
Well, they were following some random guy that thought they were God's gift to mankind. So maybe they weren't all that bright. Either way, that's a very terrible example.
That's why we're calling this the duh factor.
Yeah, because anyone could see that is not a convincing argument. I mean, duh. So what's the next thing you got for me?
The second reason we know the New Testament writers are telling the truth that we're going to talk about tonight is the fact that they died excruciating deaths.
So wait. The claim that they all died painfully, you think, is a proof.
So we've got good evidence they actually died for their faith.
Even if I give you that, I mean, fuck, Pilate killed Jesus for the shit that he was saying, and the Jews were fully on board. This isn't proof Jesus resurrected, or a proof that they were telling the truth that he was the Son of God. This would just be proof that they were sycophants following some cult leader into death. Have you ever heard of the Heaven's Gate cult? I mean, this is a known thing to occur, even in this day and age, when we are far more educated. Does this mean the Heaven's Gate cult leaders were the new embodiment of Christ? Of course not. But with Frank's kind of logic, they would be. Why do I go into these thinking I'm going to get even a remotely decent argument? And I always end up with something half-baked that simple logic can overcome. So what were the other proofs Frank came up with? Frank, can you tell us, please? What the fuck is that? Hey, you don't get to post shit on my video. This is my turf, bud. Well, while it's up there, we might as well go over them quickly. Early sources might be the idea that the books were written centuries ago. Okay, the Bible's true because it says it's old? No, just no. Eyewitness details. I used to hear this one a lot. But I guess where the eyewitness testimony is. If you said the same books that claim it's true, you would be right. You win a fluffy point. Embedded confirmation, just another way of saying the Bible is true because the Bible says it is. Expected predictions. Honestly, I'd have to know what he's talking about here, but before I say anything, so we'll skip that one for now. Extra biblical writers. So, people write all about it, and that makes it a fact? Frankly, you know how evidence actually works, right? The resurrection didn't happen just because this guy over here, much later, says he believes it. Explosive growth. Houston, we have ad populum. Just because a lot of people believe your bullshit doesn't make it a fact. Let's get that straight right now. But of course, you didn't come here just for that. Get out of here. We're done with you. Shoo. Go. Thank you. I talked at the start that there were things wrong with the resurrection story. So let's go over that for a bit before we close this off, because there is a shitload of things wrong with it.
So what?
Because the things that are wrong with it are pretty damning. There are four Gospels that talk about the resurrection. In the book of Matthew, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went to look at the tomb. There was a violent earthquake, and they saw an angel come down from heaven. The angel rolled back the stone and sat on it. The guards were scared stiff. The angel talked to the two Marys and said, Jesus ain't here. He was risen up from the dead and will catch up with you in Galilee. The two Marys immediately ran away from the tomb and ran to tell the disciples. We're going to look at the claim here. Two women came to look. Stone was in place. Angel outside sitting. They never entered the tomb and left scared to tell his disciples. In the book of Mark, chapter 16, Mary Magdalene, Mary mother of James, and Salome brought spices to anoint the body. They wondered how they would roll the stone away. When they got there, the stone is already moved. They went into the tomb and found a guy dressed in white sitting to the right, presumably an angel. The angel says he was risen and will catch up with them in Galilee. They then booked it and said nothing to anyone out of fear. Let's look at this claim. 3 women to anoint the body. The stone was moved when they got there, and an angel was sitting inside when they entered the tomb. Scared, they ran away, telling no one. In the book of Luke, chapter 24, Mary Magdalene, Mary mother of James, Joanna, and other women, so at least 5, went to the tomb with spices to anoint. They found the stone rolled away. They went into the tomb. 2 men apparated out of thin air, presumably angels, and scared the holy crap out of them. They told the women Jesus fucked off to Galilee. They claimed they calmed down, understood, and left, walked back, and told the 11 apostles. And now this claim says at least 5 women came to anoint the body. The stone was moved away when they got there. They went inside. 2 angels appeared from nowhere standing next to them, and they walked back, telling the apostles. Well, there's only one left. Let's finish up with John chapter 20, which says, Mary Magdalene went to the tomb in the dark. She got there and saw the stone was moved away. She ran away immediately and went to tell Simon Peter, telling him someone took Jesus from the tomb, and she has no idea where they put him. Mary, Simon Peter, and another disciple ran back, found the tomb empty, and left Mary there alone. Mary cried, and 2 angels appeared on the head and foot of the stones Jesus was laid on, presumably angels, both sitting on the stone. She asked where Jesus was, and when she turned around, Jesus was standing there and talked to her. Mary ran back and told the disciples Jesus was up at the tomb. And lastly, this claim says Mary went alone. The stone was already moved. She ran back down and got 2 disciples that ran back up with her. They left, and she saw 2 angels sitting, and Jesus told her that he was going to heaven. She then ran back down a second time and told the apostles. Now let's be honest with ourselves here. This is the pivotal moment of the New Testament. I mean, what do you think, Frank?
Now, ladies and gentlemen, what would cause these pious Jews who thought they were God's chosen people and didn't think a man could claim to be God, that would be blasphemy, didn't think there'd be a resurrection in the middle of time, but only at the end, what would cause them to abandon everything on the left and adopt everything on the right virtually overnight? The only thing I can think of is what psychologists call an impact event. Do you think a resurrection would have been an impact event?
So the most important factor in today's Christianity, was witnessed by Mary alone in one book, Mary and Mary mother of James in another, Mary mother of James and Salome in a third, and Mary mother of James, Joanna, and at least 2 other women in a fourth. They saw the rock in place in one book and already moved in 3 others. And they were approached by 1 angel sitting outside in one gospel, 1 angel sitting inside in another, 2 angels sitting inside in a third, and 2 standing next to them in a fourth. 3 of them have the angels telling the women Jesus went to Galilee, and 1 where Jesus tells Mary himself after the 2 men went up with her first. There's an earthquake in one but not in the other 3, and these books can't even so much as agree if anyone went inside the tomb or not, or if they walked back or ran terrified. So the most important and life-changing part of the New Testament, and no one has any idea what really happened. It's almost like it wasn't really very meaningful. Look, I am a Gen Xer under here. I know exactly what I was doing on 9/11. I was sitting at my desk at my office when the person directly across from me said a plane hit the tower in New York. I said not to panic. It could have been a pilot error. When a second plane hit a few minutes later, we all stood up and said, yes, this is definitely a terrorist attack. The manager behind me said we need to stop making phone calls and only receive calls today. I had to wait hours at work because we didn't turn on a radio or a TV at all. There were 7 operators handling the phones that day and 2 supervisors in our direct office. Everyone, and I mean everyone, was just stunned and asking the few people calling what was going on just to get a little more information that we could. The person to my immediate left was the one that found out about Tower 2, and the person at the far end of the small room found out about the Pentagon. That is the kind of thing you get from an impact event. An exacting story that you can repeat over and over the exact same way. Not 4 different ways. The resurrection of Jesus from the lack of any real evidence and the fact that the testimony is untrustworthy at best, it seems fictional. Seems one could only conclude that if the most important part of the Bible seems made up, the entire thing probably is. What do you think, Frank?
Christianity is not true because a series of documents we put under one binding we call the Bible says it's true.
I totally agree. As atheists, we need something more. Something impactful. I am Corsi, and this is the Fluffy Atheist. If you like this, thumbs up. If you don't, thumbs down. Either way, share it with friends, no matter if you want to share a funny video or if you want to point and laugh. I'm good either way.